start. We're preparing your live stream now. Please wait a moment. Yeah.
Watch live.
Hooray!
Yay!
All right. Now I just have to make sure that it doesn't play.
You need a website.
You need a website. Why not do it yourself?
Go to Wix.com.
Hooray! I think it's working.
I just got a notification that you're live now, so.
All right. Exactly, yeah. Anyway, after some technical difficulties, I'm running on a laptop. Now, for those of you watching at home, you will probably see some freaking out on the camera. There's some sort of issue, which I currently can't figure out how to fix at this point, so just listen. Don't actually watch too much, because you'll get a little sick from the flickering out. For those of you here, you probably won't see that much flickering at all, so that's good. Oh, also, I just noticed that nobody could see the sign that said applause, so I held it up too high, it was out of frame, so there you go. Thank you, I appreciate it.
And boy, does it have a delay.
Yeah, it does have a delay. Yeah, it's a good point. So, as some of you may have figured, I've got a studio audience here of, I don't know, probably 20 people, which I appreciate early on this Sunday morning. It's been a long weekend already, so I'm going to take a look at the chat to see how many people do not like the flickering, and I apologize. There seems to be nothing I can do about it. How do I do that? See, doing this on a laptop is hard because it's a smaller screen, so just trying to find the real estate to click on buttons and make things happen is difficult. So I'm going to pop out the chat onto a separate window, and then I'm going to take this and bring it way over there. This is all fascinating television, I'll tell you that right now. There we go.
Okay, now too many people might not be watching this because of the
Yes, there we go. Twerch, I have sounds, but camera is glitching pretty good. I know what you're saying, Twerch. It's glitching in my little preview window, so that's, again, like I said, I think it's some sort of issue maybe with the USB and numbers and words. I'm not a tech guy, frankly, as it turns out. So yeah. So if you guys want to just, who are watching, you just shrink the window down real small so you can just see that I'm here, or don't, whatever, and just listen, do some painting. It's good. We are possibly in the Matrix. That's a very good point, Neef. So yeah, welcome Guillermo from Argentina. We've got Pittsburgh. We've got South Korea. My second cousin Lee says, yes, it's flickering, but I already know what you look like, so that's good. I appreciate seeing you, Lee. Lee also likes my shirt. We both volunteer at the Time Community Theater downtown and get to see movies like this guy and stuff from time to time, so that's cool. No, for those of you who are wondering, your device is not breaking. It's some strange collection of issues going on here, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Fellow from the UK, Beirut, Lebanon, Florida, London, VJ Morph, pretty sure Australia. I'm pretty sure that's where you're at. Let me see here. What else have we got? Newcastle under Lyme. I don't know if anyone's ever been to Newcastle under Lyme. What else have we got? Tennessee, Denver, Hamburg, Little Rock. So, for those of you who've been, for those of you who are watching at home, and obviously you people who hear, you guys know, this is going to be odd having an audience, honestly. Usually it's just my wife kind of heckling me and the cats. So,
We can heckle you.
You want us to heckle you then?
No, it's fine, really. So
you traded the cats for us.
yeah, I guess a lot more cats. So yeah, it's this is Tabletop Minions Expo. This started yesterday here in Oshkosh, and it's a small little kind of convention, and it's been working really well. We've got a couple of vendors. We've been running a lot of games. Guys from the Kenosha area, the Battle Badgers, came up and ran a whole bunch of Flames of War and some Malifaux and stuff like that. Got a lot of other people also running a lot of games. Guys coming from Chicago, guys coming from Milwaukee. We've got somebody from Cheyenne, Wyoming, Texas. So yeah, it's been some definite some travel, and that's been really cool. So I've been really kind of glad to see this kind of stuff happening. I wanted to do this for a while, and it was just one of those things where I wanted to kind of try to figure out like what kind of facilities I was going to need to be able to do it. And it's, I think, going to become an annual event because it's been working out well. You guys have been having a good time, I hope.
Absolutely.
Good to hear. It's good to hear. Let's see. Rusty McNally asks, how many people are at the show this morning with you? I don't know, about 20, 25 probably right now. If I want to get real fancy.
Oh, no. Guys. It's going to flicker on us now.
You're going to break it. You're going to break it.
We can do that, and yay, everybody
Oh, boy, the delay is still showing you.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. It's just going to flicker and we're going to be in view just staring at it.
All right. So anyway, yeah, there's a bunch of people, so that's working out well.
It hasn't even showed us yet.
I'm just watching yeah, there it turns around. Yay, there's everybody. A lot of the people here are actually watching live, but also watching on their phones, which is it's interesting. Yeah. Yes, exactly, for the chat. I can see that. Ralph asks, "How's TMX doing?" It's doing well. We're having a good time. I think today's going to be a little bit fewer people, certainly, but that's kind of the way most kind of conventions goes. Usually Sunday's a little bit more chill than the Saturday. But we had a lot of cool games going on yesterday. There was, let's see, my friend Peter was running Silent Death, which is a kind of an old school space combat game. That was a lot of fun. And then later on in the evening, he ran Space Hulk, which was the actual Space Hulk set that I played back in the early 90s that got me interested. I talk about how Space Hulk was my first game. Like he was the one who taught me the game, and that was the set we used. Those models I painted with Peter probably 10 years ago. So, you can kind of see how things kind of move along and progress, hopefully.
Much better.
Well, yeah, I think so. I hope so.
How well conditioned the box and everything.
Oh yeah, no, Peter keeps stuff in really good condition, and that's I think second edition, or was it first? Was it first? Okay, so yeah, that's cool. The question: can you get Sam to do a non-metallic metal video? Would really appreciate it. We will probably talk about it because he's pretty good at it. I am terrible at it, and I always do metallic metals because it's way easier for me. But hopefully Sam will come by. I've got a seat here for him, and we can do a little bit of chit-chat, but he's not here yet. He was right over here, which you guys can't see. He did a couple of classes yesterday, and he's doing another class today, so hopefully he'll roll in. So, yeah. VJ Morph says the 8th edition, and again, you guys, he's Australia, but he said limited edition box is $700 in Australia, and he almost spat out his Vegemite toast, which that's how you know.
Real money or dollar dues?
Dollar dues is $700. It's $420 actually for the limited edition. Yeah, when I found that out, and I was at this ACD Game Day thing, this distributor conference a week ago or so, when we were in the seminar for Games Workshop, and somebody said, "Oh, is there going to be like a limited edition and all that stuff?" And one of the guys was like, "Oh yeah, of course we're going to do that." And like, how much is it going to cost? And then one guy in the back, who worked for GW, said it's going to be $420. And like, these are all store owners, and they all kind of gasped, And so, yeah, there was a bunch of talk about it, but it released yesterday, and they're like, "Yep, going to be $420." So I'm assuming it's going to be depleted uranium or something, or I don't know what the book is going to be made out of, but yeah, definitely.
It's going to include an actual bolt gun.
Actual bolt gun. No, that's a good idea. I could see that. That'd be good. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no ammo. Well, that's probably for the best, actually. All right. Heresy says, "I've got to puke." Well, don't look directly at the screen. I understand it's flickery. I get it. Just
or is
hold
he
it.
puking at the 700?
Or you could be puking because of the price. That's a good point. Either way, don't, just, if you have to, you have to, but don't. Let's see here. Hello from Lincoln, UK. Well, hello. I spotted some GW staff in Birmingham yesterday carrying the new 8th edition starter set. It took every effort not to mug them. Well, that's probably for the best. I don't think you need to go to jail for that kind of stuff, frankly. Unless you're really good at mugging and you don't get caught, then you make your own decisions, frankly. I got an email on like Thursday from GW, and they said they're going to be sending me the starter box, hopefully coming this week. So that would be kind of cool. I'll be looking forward to that. Probably talk about it a bit on one of the shows or something like that. I don't know that I'm going to jump into 8th edition right away, just because I'm still not sure if I want to make that many models and go through all that stuff, but I'm definitely going to use the Death Guard for Shadow War, because I have a Chaos Army, and they're the older Plague Marines, so I'm going to just swap those out with the new guys, I think. I don't know if I'm going to swap the crazy zombie nurgling kind of people for the cultists, because I really like my cultists. They're actually cool paint jobs. You know, they die all the time, but they're really cool paint jobs. I enjoy doing them.
Well, what's plague got? Let's die.
So yeah, let's see here. What else we got? Oh, Colin McMillan says, played giant killer robots today with Weta Workshop people. This game is really fun and really thematic. Now that's cool that you got to play with the Weta Workshop people. That's cool. I'm getting a copy of it because I did the Kickstarter, and I'm looking forward to that because yeah, the game does look kind of cool. I think it's going to be a cool gateway game because it's like kind of in between. You know, it's a board game sort of, but it's also kind of a I don't know what you call it, like a it's miniature sort of. It's got those cool pre-painted robots. I'm looking forward to that. But the set that I got is the set that comes with also the unpainted robots as well, so I can paint them myself. So yeah, that's cool that you got to play it. I'm looking forward to getting mine. I know in the Kickstarter it said something about they were going to ship in December, but I've heard that there's a potential they're going to ship it sooner than that. A lot of Kickstarters, from what I understand, the rules have changed recently, and Kickstarter is cracking down on people a lot who don't make their date. So from what I understand, a lot of Kickstarters are like, okay, well then that means that we will guarantee we've shipped it by 2019, so they don't miss their date. But then, you know, because the Kingdom Death Kickstarter that happened about maybe, 6 months ago or whatever, it said that the ship date was 2020. And that was just because they wanted to be absolutely sure they didn't miss their date, I guess. So I think that they also had some other stuff they were going to put out as well. So they wanted to make sure that it was all that good. Rusty McNally asks, how do cultists hold up in Shadow War? Are they an effective horde? Not against the Eldar. No. And the second thing is, too, which was my last game that I played, and it didn't work out well. But the thing is that I also like about Shadow War, frankly, is it's not much of a horde game. You know, you're... Like, if you play orcs, you can have 20 models. That's the max in your army. Most of the rest of the armies are all 10, you know, unless you're Grey Knights, and then it's 5, which is cool. I think there's another one that's like 15. I want to say...
Tyranids are 5, aren't they?
Yeah, Tyranids, you're right, are also 5, but there's... the Genestealer cults, you can have up to 15. So, I'm a little surprised you can't have 15 Imperial Guard. Like 10, they're still maxed at 10, but... So yeah, it'll be interesting, yeah. But that's one of the things I kind of like about it is you don't have to worry about doing horde stuff. But then you can still, like, I can paint, you know, sets of 10 models, and I can maybe build 5 of them, and then I have 5 different armies. So I get my, you know, fix of all of that kind of extra. I get to do a lot of different things and kind of jump around, which, you know, is kind of what I like to do. Colin McMillan says very cryptically, there are more ideas for games from Weta in the works. Well, you may be under NDA, so you probably can't tell us, but I think it's smart of them to get into that space, honestly. I mean, you know, they can only do so many Hobbit movies and stuff, I suppose. So, you know, but yeah, it's cool, yeah, definitely. Lyndon Holt says also the Genestealer cult is 15. Yeah, 15 models, exactly. Ted Morey says, hi from upstate New York. I've been a GW fan for years, but have never taken the step to buy and paint models. But everything I've read about 8th edition is making me take the plunge. I'm hearing that a lot, honestly. Yeah, definitely a lot of that's going on. And I mean, I just know people myself who are doing roughly the same thing. I just had an idea. I'm going to minimize this window and see if that helps with the flickering. No. Okay, so that's good. Yeah, so I can definitely see that. Colin says, if I get my copy of Giant Killer Robots from the workshop, should I get your copy? No, they should probably ship my copy, because then you'd have to ship my copy, and then it would be very expensive, so let's not do that. But yeah, I can wait. I'm doing that. Leroy Jenkins asks, in all caps, how goes the expo? It's going pretty well. Like I said, we've got I've been posting a bunch of pictures on the social medias, and that's been working out pretty well. And so, yeah, we had a big Lego battle yesterday with AT-ATs. That was really cool. And we had some Malifaux with the Crazy Circus terrain that's made out of like a compressed plastic that's printed on, and you kind of slide it all together. It looks really good. I see there's a game of Zombicide over there that's on pause right now, and we'll be playing again a little bit later on, so that's cool. We've had This Is Not a Test, also with kind of like foam core type terrain, but it's all handmade. All, you know, this is not a kit, is what that is right there. That's it's the new painter putting that stuff together. So yeah, definitely. Gosh, what else did we got? Got Broken Contract back there. Way in the back, there's another vendor. Shattered Crown is the name of the game from Gaddis Gaming. So they had tons of demos running yesterday. It's been working out really, really well. Definitely. Bennett says it's a small help. I think the flickering has well, I was going to say the flickering has died, but then I looked over and then it freaked out. So, I think we're going to have that. Heresy says, where is this expo? In the University of Wisconsin, Oshkosh, Grunhagen Center basement in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. I don't remember the address, but that's about as specific as I can get at this point. Yeah. So, VJ Morph says, Adam, watching the 8th edition battle reports on Mini Wargaming, 8th edition looks fantastic. Yeah, I know there's been a lot of live streaming going on, too. I know there's a group called SN Battle Reports from the UK. They've been doing a bunch of the 8th edition battle stuff, and I think that the guys from Independent Characters, the podcast, they did a bunch of, not battle reports per se, but just more like live stream stuff, which is kind of interesting. King Ads says, any word on 8th edition Kill Team? I haven't heard anything. I don't know if anybody here has heard anything. I get the feeling that, I'm getting a lot of shaking heads, I get the feeling that probably Shadow War is kind of going to fill that niche. That being said, they may down the road just make a quick update to the box set, and or not the box set, but the book for Kill Team. Like when they went from 6th to 7th, they just updated the Kill Team book, and I bought it digitally, so I was just able to download it real quick and just push the button, and since I'd already paid for it once digitally, they just gave me the update. So they may do that again for 8th, but I don't know that they have any plans to actually make a box like they did before with the Tau and the Space Marines and all that in it. If they did, I have a suspicion then they'd probably put Primaris guys in it, because they're pushing those guys really hard, so yeah. The Blockmaster Studio says, what is your opinion on Games Workshop getting rid of templates in 8th? Just about the only change I don't like. I did a video about it that maybe you guys saw on Facebook, and how you can use them as a drink coaster, or you can use them as a back scratcher, and all that kind of stuff. I think it's a good idea, frankly. It's, I mean, it just makes things, like the templates are great, but there was always a lot of times, a lot of what was going on was well, I think I've got 4 guys with this template. No, I think you got 3 guys with that. No, I think it's back and forth, back and forth. So, yeah, I think it'll be interesting to kind of see how that goes, but it should work out pretty well.
Another option, sharpen the edges and use it as a pizza cutter.
I actually tried to cut a sandwich with the flamer template, and it's surprisingly hard. So if you watch that video, it's like that was first take in the video. I'm like, oh, I'll just use it to cut a sandwich. That'll be funny. And then I was going back and forth, and then it's just really, and then moving the whole table, and then I was like, well, that's the take, I think, pretty much. I'm going to go with that one. It worked out pretty well. So yeah. Torch says that the index book's price point seems reasonable. Yeah, I think the $25 for the soft covers. So there's going to be 5 different soft covers for 8th edition. There's going to be 2 for the Imperials. One's going to be basically all Space Marine, and the other one's going to be the rest of the Imperials. And then there's going to be 1 for Chaos. There's going to be 2 for Xenos. One's going to be mostly Eldar, I think. Eldar, Dark Eldar, whatnot. And Necrons. And then the other one is like Orcs and a bunch of, Tau and stuff like that. So basically, you end up buying 1 book that will allow you to for me, as mainly a Chaos player right now, I'll buy the Chaos book and then I'll be done. I won't need to go from any further than that. And it'll have all kinds of extra stuff. So that'll be kind of interesting. And I think it's smart of them to do them $25, and they're going to be, like I said, soft covers and all that.
How do you feel about them not going in downloadable versions of these? It
So-
seems like they're trying to make them a subscription model now. every
Yeah.
year.
The question is, what do you think about them not being downloadable? So I guess I probably haven't told this story because it's been since the last show. All right, so I went to a conference back last week in Madison, Wisconsin. It's put on by a distributor. And the distributors are the companies that buy stuff from the manufacturers and sell it to the game stores. So there's a distributor in Madison, Wisconsin, and I went to that distributor conference because I've got a good friend who owns a store, and I help him out, and he doesn't want to go by himself and hang out by himself, so he brings me along. And then I get to talk to manufacturers, and it's cool. During the seminar for Games Workshop, they were talking about 8th and pushing all this stuff. I just raised my hand during it, and it was because people were asking questions, and I said, are you guys going to do the data slates, which are basically war scrolls, like if they were in Age of Sigmar, are you guys going to do those as downloadable, free downloadable stuff like they did, like you did for Age of Sigmar? And because they had not said that yet. They had told us all that the index books were coming, but I was personally under the opinion, I'm like, well, they're going to tell us the index books are coming, but then they're still going to let us download the data slates for free, just because. It's not that I have a problem with $25 for a book, certainly, that's fine. But the trick is, I know that when the app for Age of Sigmar came out, I downloaded the app, and I downloaded lots and lots of War Scrolls, like when I'm sitting in the bathroom, or I'm like waiting for something to happen, and I'm just like looking at stats, and I'm like, oh, these guys are really cool, and they would really work well with these, and that made me buy more models, frankly. So the fact is, if you've got all of a sudden just a wild hair, and you're like, I wonder if the Necrons would be working well with and that you can't look if you don't own that book already. You might have to go to the store and buy it, and that's fine. But if you don't, you're not going to... And I told the guys that after the thing. I just asked the guy a question again after the conference, and I said, it's great you guys are releasing all these books at once, so everybody gets all new rules and stuff. That's great. And I said, but my concern is that you guys are not, like, the long term. You're not looking at the long term. You're looking at the quick upfront business decision, $25 for your book. That's great. But you may not sell as many models long term, and I think that's I'm not saying, there's a lot of companies, obviously, that give away their rules for free and all kinds of stuff like that because they want you to buy more models. They figure if you got to spend $50 on a book, that's $50 you don't spend on models. That being said, I don't know. Maybe they'll change their mind on the road, but I'm not sure. I know there are some people that are like saying that it comes across as almost as a subscription model, so we'll see how that goes. Zydix says, can you fix the camera stuff? As it turns out, no. Sorry. I tried before. It's some problem running off this laptop. And, well, actually, let's try this on the fly. That'll be fun. Okay. Stand back. I'm going to try science. Webcam.
Fingers cross your toes.
Easy camera. Okay, that one's not flickering. It's just shooting right at my nose because it's coming from here now. Okay, let me turn this one off. Poke. No, go off. Thank you. And this is fascinating television, in case anyone's wondering.
Play-by-play.
There we go. And we take this, and we go down here, and then we move that down. There we go. So, probably less flickering now, I'm hoping. So this is the actual webcam coming from right there on the screen, and not the one over there. So I hope this works out.
You got a picture-in-picture out.
For a bit, there was a picture-in-picture, and then
Okay.
it disappeared. Yeah, I had to. Yeah, it was letterbox. Exactly. That's a good point. All right, so now we have less of that. But if someone comes to be, in the hot seat, we won't be able to see them as easily. But we'll figure it out as the time comes. Hopefully, less glitching, and everybody's good. All right. So what else have we got here for questions? Let's see. Dorn Jr. says, I agree, Adam. War Scrolls equals shopping list. Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've just been looking at stuff. I mean, I bought a bunch of Skaven because I thought they would work well with my Nurgle because I could see the keywords and all that stuff up front. Now, admittedly, if it was just a Chaos book that you would have bought, you would have had all that stuff in there. And it's unlikely that you're going to be like, well, I'm looking at, the Chaos book for 40K, but what I'm really interested in is adding in some Necrons. Like, that's not, I mean, technically you can play it that way, certainly, but you're unlikely to go that direction.
Putting it on somebody's phone makes it idle time, right? I mean,
Exactly.
If you're making a decision with your book, you brought your book with you. You brought
Right.
your phone with you, you're at work, you're on the pot.
Exactly.
That's 20 minutes of shopping, right?
Yeah,
You're not
exactly.
really
It is. I mean, if you guys have ever used the actual the app for the Age of Sigmar, the thing that's awesome about it is the fact that you can just, like, on every single one of the listings, you can just push a button and it will take you to the website and go, would you like to buy it here? Because I mean, I mean, that's not, it doesn't work for all of them because some of them are older, like models that they don't sell anymore, but a lot of them have a little Earth icon next to it, which means World Wide Web, evidently. So you just push that button and it just takes you to the store. So yeah, it totally makes sense.
I think the key is do both.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see. Well, that's the thing, is that, like, a lot of games out there, like Cool Mini or not, they put out a lot of their almost all their rules are always for free, but they also sell books too, because they know there's a lot of people who like to buy the actual book. It totally makes sense.
And a lot of the Spartan Games products are,
Yep.
they're putting out the rule book, and then couple months later, the rule book is
Yep.
free.
So the rule book is like
Once
free.
The rule book's out, the stats for all the models that's been made
Right.
is updated.
Yeah, and I know Cool Mini, like when I go to Gen Con this year, Cool Mini for Dark Age, not only have they come out with a new version, they're coming out with a new version, I think, every year now. There's like the 2016 edition, 2017 edition. If you go to Gen Con or any of the other conventions they're at, you bring your 2016 book, you can just give it to them and they'll give you a 2017 book. You know, but they only sell the book for like $20 too. I mean, they understand that if they give away the rules for free, you're more likely to buy models, which has worked quite a bit in the past. I'm getting a lot of applause, little icons and things. People are glad that it stopped flickering. I, again, apologize. This camera is not as nice. There's some wiggle to it, and it's sort of shooting up my nose, but it's, you know, it'll do for now. Let's see here. Ossel says, I thought I heard through several sources saying that there would be an app. I'm not sure what the app will have if not data sheets. I agree, because that was the thing. They talked about how there was going to be an app coming, so I just assumed it was going to be data sheets. But I asked the guys there, and they said they wouldn't be doing the free data sheets. What I think the app will probably do, honestly, probably be an army builder, which would be great since really Games Workshop had an army builder years and years ago, but it was terrible, and then they haven't done it since. So having some sort of thing would be really great. It would be really nice to have that. So yeah, Frankie Lee Bailey says that is very dangerous. I've made at least 5 purchases in the bathroom at work. Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing. It's the same deal. You know, having that right there, I'm sure drives, basically just sales. The guys did say when I was talking to, I think his name is Malcolm from GW at that thing afterwards. When I told him, I thought, you know, I mean, obviously they're not going to listen to me. I'm just a guy, but I was just saying, this is why I asked the question, and he said he understood. But he said the reason they did it for GW was for 40K was because it was a business decision. It was exactly the same thing for why they did it for Age of Sigmar. Age of Sigmar, they're like, we understand that we're completely ripping off the Band-Aid and making everything new. It's going to be a hard PR move. He didn't say it was going to be a bad PR move. They handled the PR kind of poorly, frankly. But they basically, I feel as if they were kind of like, well, because we're completely changing the game to throw everybody a bone, we're going to give everybody the War Scrolls for free. If you would have said, we're completely destroying everything in the system, and you're starting over to some degree, oh, and you have to buy the War Scrolls separately, they probably would have. But the fact that it was a 4-page free download for the rule booklet, and then all the War Scrolls for free, there was still a lot of, obviously, gnashing of teeth and rending of garments, but then once they came out with the General's Handbook, I mean, it really picked up. Like right now, the last quarter, if you look at sales of non-collectible miniatures games, which means stuff not like HeroClix and jazz like that, it's X-Wing first, then it's 40K, then it's War Machine, and number 4 is now Age of Sigmar, and then 5 is Hordes, actually, also from Privateer Press. So it's really interesting that those things that they've gotten back to that point. Lots of people were calling about, you know, it was the death of fantasy and all this stuff and everything like that. But really, it's come back kind of nicely. So that's been kind of good. So yeah, Zombie Boy says, Adam, I use the Battlescribe app. Not amazing, but built my Armageddon factions with it. Yeah, I know. Battlescribe is a big one, and it's really helpful for that. So I like to use that on my phone. And it's cool that they have lots of different data sets so that you're into playing bolt action, you're into playing, you know, whatever. They've got all these different data sets in there. Now, those are all made by fans. Like the company that makes Battlescribe can't make the data sets because of legal reasons, but that's kind of how it's working out. So
You can edit your own from the book, too, right?
yeah, and you can edit your own from the book as well, which is really cool, too. 12 Neef says there's more Sigmar being played at my local hobby store than there is 40K right now. And that will probably be the case for a little while, but I think once 8th edition drops, you're going to see a lot of people jumping back in. I know there's some people here who've talked about how they've been out for quite some time and they're jumping back in. It's
Thanks for that, Adam.
yeah.
I think
That's what I'm here
really
for.
Been the case ever since 8th was rumored that people were going, well, why should I put more games?
Right, yeah. There's no good reason to to jump into it. Well, to some degree, there was not a great reason to jump into it, especially when you knew that 8th was coming, definitely. Joshua asks, Adam, do you think GW will make a General's Handbook 2 for 40K just like they did for Age of Sigmar this year? That's a good question. I mean, I know that, you know, this General's Handbook 2, and again, the General's Handbook, what was the cost on that? $25, $30? I thought it was $25. So, you know, doing that where instead of having to buy a whole new codex when a new codex comes out every 3 years for your army or whatever, but just picking up, you know, if it's a $25 a year for the book that gives you all kinds of new stuff and new points and new, I mean, I'm sure there'll be a lot of new scenarios and all that jazz. That kind of stuff I think is going to work out pretty well. So, Evan Simmons says, I love Battlescribe. Yeah, I think it's great. I have not used the web version, but I've been using the version on my phone a good deal, so yeah. Let's see here. Zenith Hellfire says, if you can get the 8th edition rules for 40K without paying, I will hands down play 8th edition. Well, funny story. You sort of can, but you sort of can't. So they are releasing a 12-page core rules set for free. And they basically, it's going to be kind of like, the 4-page thing for Age of Sigmar. It's the 12-page thing for 40K, because 40K is going to be more detailed than Age of Sigmar is. It's kind of their whole strategy of like, instead of just having these 2 games that are really hard to get into like they used to, they now want to have a lot of different games at a lot of different price points and a lot of different levels of difficulty and ease of use and all that stuff. And so I get the feeling that right now 40K is probably towards the top. Maybe the only thing higher is maybe going to be Horus Heresy stuff, I suppose. But that's kind of how it's going to work in theory. So they've said there will be a free download and it's 12 pages, but it's not going to come with any scenarios. It's not going to come with a whole bunch of other stuff. The new book, the hardcover book, which is $60, which is $15 cheaper than the last hardcover book, which I was surprised by, frankly. It's going to be like 128 pages, I think, of fluff. And then there's going to be, the rules, and then the extended rules, advanced rule stuff, and then maybe some hobby stuff, I think, as well. So, so you can technically check out the main rules for free, yes, but the rest of the whatever 280 minus 12 is, that's going to be something you're going to need to pay for, technically. So, yeah. And Johnny Rockstar says that GW have already said that they're planning on an update book called Chapter Approved for 8th edition out at Christmas. Yeah, they talked about it at Warhammer Fest. I saw some pictures and stuff. And so, yeah, the Chapter Approved is going to be kind of the General's Handbook, but for 40K, from what I understand. And it will be adding things to the game. I don't know you'll need to, just like with the General's Handbook, you don't need the General's Handbook to play, Age of Sigmar. You can play it without. It's just if you want to play points, then that stuff's in the General's Handbook. I think the Chapter Approved is going to be slightly different stuff, additional things, added stuff. New. I'm sure new models will come out. I don't know if any of you have seen the crazy grav tank that they just showed off at Warhammer Fest 2. Yeah, thing's awesome looking. I don't know why. It's just one of those things. You looked at it, I'm like, that's like the other vehicles they've made in the past for the Space Marines are cool, but. Like rhinos and land raiders and that kind of stuff. But that hover tank, I thought looked really... The thing that's interesting to me is that hover tank looks... I don't want to say it looks real, because it's a hover tank. But it has, like, missile pods on it and stowage, and it looks more real military to some degree, almost a little bit, for a flying tank. But it looks like that as opposed to, like, like a rhino that's just got nothing on it. It's just a box that the guys hang out in. I'm like, well, where's all the stuff, all the other stowage and things like that? So...
nicer lines, too.
It does have really nice lines. I agree. So, yeah, definitely. Let's see here. There's Kill Team for people who want to get into 40K. I'm not sure what that's about. I'm assuming that's maybe talking more about, again, Shadow War, that kind of stuff. What else have we got? All kinds of questions. Sadly, won't get my hands on the new edition until Christmas at the earliest. Money is kind of an issue when you're in education and don't have a job. Yes, I get that. Because the new starter box is $160. Now, that being said, it comes with a hardcover book inside, which they sell for $60. The last starter set came with the little 7th edition book that was like softcover and all that kind of stuff, which, if you're getting old like me, is sort of hard to read. But so the fact that they're actually putting it out with this much bigger hardcover book inside is kind of interesting. So, yeah, that'll be cool. Got some people talking about the old deodorant tank, the old...
That when you search for Space Marine Grav Tank, the first thing that pops up is that old Road Trader
Sure.
deodorant.
So for those of you that are not been into 40K or modeling and stuff for quite some... or who just started, back in the day, they didn't make the Land Speeder model yet. It was in the book for back in like the Rogue Trader days. So if you bought White Dwarf, they had like stuff in White Dwarf about, well, this is how you could build your own, your own Land Speeder. And you literally took like a thing of speed stick, and once you were done using it, then you glued the lid on, and then glued a bunch of stuff to it, and it was like a deodorant tank flying around and stuff like that. You put it on a...
You want to show them?
Yeah, I don't know how well you'll be able to see this, but that's the old school deodorant grav tank, basically. So it looks a little different now than the new one they've put out. If I didn't think it would blow everything up, I would try to go find a picture for you and show it to you. But yeah, well, there you go. We'll just do that. So
it'll show up.
but yeah, this is what the new one looks like here. This is super high tech, and this is on Newt's phone, and I'm showing you what it looks like. But yeah, so that's what the new one looks like, and it looks a lot different than deodorant tank. So definitely.
It's all right.
Miranda says, "I want a Land Raider that flies and has guns on top of the guns and missiles everywhere." Well, this is almost basically, yeah, it looks a lot like that, frankly. It's getting very close, yeah.
Like you want to play orcs?
So yeah, and then oh yeah, like a looted whatever. What are they calling the grav tank?
I just see grav tank.
There's a name.
A repulsor.
Repulsor. That's it. They're calling it the Repulsor, which is it's a descriptive name for what it does, but it's not a great name. It kind of sounds like it's repulsive. Anyway, but yeah, so that's going to be interesting. I would seeing orc looted repulsors. That would be. You would have to definitely, like, as it comes on a base, you would definitely have to constantly make it, like, tilted funny. You know what I mean? Like, just like, or almost like you know, one of those, the stunt cars when they're on two wheels. It has to be like that all the time.
Put a bunch of boys underneath it just running forward with it.
Yeah, just holding it up, yeah. Just a whole bunch of guys just running, a bunch of boys underneath it holding it and running along. That would be, that, right there, you got some good ideas. When that thing comes out, it's right here first. It'll be
I
set.
have to paint this all red now.
Let's see here. Dennis Bauer says Landspeeder is very old. There are two metal versions. Yes, the original version was underarm deodorant, so you know you got that. Rusty McNally says I prefer the deodorant one. Actually, I do want to build one someday, just for grins. Like the whatever kind of deodorant I use looks kind of like that same shape, and every once in a while I'm just like, I don't know how you get the deodorant out once you're done. Do you boil it maybe or something? Well, no, I know, but there's probably like a lot of goop inside. Well, I suppose it would just make a tank that doesn't smell bad. So that's probably not so bad, really. I mean, honestly, I could see that being. Yeah, definitely. Let me see here. What else? Frankie Lee Bailey is telling us that the U.S. Navy now has a Gauss cannon and BattleTech, and the Army has exoskeletons. So Space Marines aren't that far off. All right, well, that's good to hear, I suppose. Silent Hill says, with such amounts of detail, I will use a whole year to paint my Death Guard. Yeah, the new Nurgle models that they're coming out in the starter box are really sweet looking. And this is from a guy who likes, you know, Plague Marines and all that. Most of my Plague Marines that I currently have are predominantly the older, some of them are the really old metal ones, and some of them are fine cast. Which, frankly, again, for all the complaints with Finecast, it's fine for Nurgle models. Because if it's, like, weird and twisted and it's got pits in it and whatever, it doesn't matter. It's Nurgle. It's fine, you know? It's a feature. Exactly, yeah. But yeah, so these new ones, I think, are going to look really cool. I've actually got a really old... So if you ever go to Adepticon, or if you even go to Gen Con, I think, there's a company that comes from Toledo, Ohio, and they sell bits. They bring all these big Rubbermaid tubs filled with little plastic Ziploc bags with, like, here's 3 bolters for $1 or whatever, and you just dig through all these bits and try to find things you're looking for. And they're kind of organized into different, like, here's a big giant tub of just Tau bits or whatever. And I was digging through Chaos a couple of years back there, and I found an old metal Plague Marine, and he's a plasma gunner. I got to put a picture on the Paint Showcase Club one of these days, so I painted him up. I kid you not, he's holding a plasma gun, and it is made out of wood. Like, it has wood grain on it and the whole deal, and he's supposed to be holding, it's that wooden, like, why would you, those things get hot if they're not made out of wood. Like, I would think that it would just be constantly smoking, you know, whether he's using it or not, you know, but it's a great model, so I was like, I gotta paint him up. And there was, like, another one of the old metal Plague Marines where he's got, like, bug eyes, you know, with, like, the segment, yeah, and so just stuff like that.
The Chaos Lord granted a blessing for the wood.
It's blessed, yes. It's blessed chaos wood. That's a good point, yeah. Or else it's just really wet, probably. I don't know, yeah. So, yeah, it's worked out. It's I'm looking forward to seeing the new models myself to be able to start painting them. I saw the models in person at this ACD Game Day thing. They were showing them off. I guess it was the first public showing that they had of the new models and stuff. I don't think they're the ones painted from the videos, though, because the paint jobs were good, but they weren't they weren't great. Yeah, they weren't as good as I thought they would have been. Like the rims around the bases, there was on a lot of the rims they do it in the brown color. I usually would do the rims in black on mine. I just like it better. But I noticed that there were like not hairs in it, but I think it was pieces of like grass flock that were like underneath the paint, and I'm like, that's not Golden Demon quality. I don't know, you know. But yeah, they were still really cool to see. They had a bunch of the Primaris Marines there too, and I thought, well, that's cool. But if you guys were following me on social media a couple weeks ago, I posted a bunch of those pictures that I took from there, and they were really cool looking. I liked them. Let me see here. What else have we got? I feel like GW's new Primaris line of models is their way of trying to bring more realistic, grounded, generic style of military to a 40K's over-the-top setting. Maybe. I could see that to some degree. I can also see the fact that people have been complaining for years that their guardsmen are the same height as the Space Marines. Now, they could have just said, hey, guess what, guys? These are the new Space Marines. They're the right height now. And then everybody would have freaked out. What it does, and it's a smart move on their part, you can buy Primaris Space Marines and run them as regular Space Marines and just tell everybody, hey, these are regular Space Marines. It will cost you more money, most likely. Because I think they haven't released prices on the new Primaris Marines themselves, but I bet they'll be probably maybe 5 in a box for 50, like Terminators. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Maybe they'll be 10 in a box for 50 or 60, potentially, I guess. I don't know. But maybe that math doesn't work out now that I come to say it. I don't know, whatever. So they will hopefully do that. And there will be people who are maybe just starting, who are just deciding that they're going to ignore Primaris Marines as a rule set and just be like, all my Marines are normal height because I'm going to buy the big ones. I don't know. But the fact that they didn't force it down everyone's throat saying, these are the new Space Marines, I think was a smart plan. The fact that they said, okay, well, you can use these guys as new Special Marines that Robert Gilliman, whatever his name is. Roboti Gurliman, whatever, yeah, that guy that he brought around. Yeah, exactly. I'm amazed by how hard they made his name to you know what I mean? Like
It's Bobby G.
Bobby G. But that's the thing. Like, there's a lot of problems sometimes in games where, like, in game design, where you decide to make a name like really crazy to make it very unique and very alien, and then people are like, I can't even close to pronounce that, and they don't. So they're just. When you see games that seem slightly derivative in sometimes the names, you're like, yeah, but then people can remember it, and they can, that makes it a little easier. Anyway, so Bobby G, he decided to bring these bigger Space Marines back, and it's helped them, helped out the Imperium and all that kind of stuff. And you can choose to use them as regular Space Marines, who are just now the right height in comparison, or you can decide to use them as Primaris Marines. They've got, I think, probably 2 wounds, or they're supposed to be a bit fancier than your standard Marines. You can start making narrative campaigns where there's like tension between the regular Marines and the new Marines because they think the new Marines are so fancy, and that may just be something you do yourself actually instead of an actual narrative campaign. But whatever, that's what I'll probably be doing. So it'll work out there. Merchant Prince says Robot Gorilla Man. There you go. I like that one. I like that one a lot. Robot Gorilla Man. Did you see the Slayer Sword winner, the Throne Room? Amazing floor light shading. That model was in the Crystal Brush, and it did not win the Crystal Brush. Which one won the Crystal Brush this year?
Aaron Lovejoy, didn't it?
No, it was an Italian guy, if I remember correctly. I can't remember what the model was, but that model maybe came in 2nd or 3rd this year, and it was Nagash on the throne, and there was a vampire and all that stuff. Right. So yeah, I had seen it actually at Adepticon this year, but I was glad to see that he won the Slayer Sword, so that was cool. Yeah, I cannot remember what the heck won this. Oh, it was that Space Wolf.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it was this humongous Space Wolf. This guy had completely... That's the thing that you're starting to see with Crystal Brush, is really the only way you can win these days if you completely scratch build everything. So, like, last year, or this year was, that giant Space Wolf with a giant wolf, with him. And then there was, 2 years ago, there was that humongous Crimson Fists...
James Bond looking guy.
Yeah, he looked like Daniel Craig actually, but yeah, he was this humongous captain, Terminator captain for Crimson Fist, but it was like a scratch build that was probably nearly a foot tall, and that was amazing looking too. So yeah, it's been a lot of scratch building lately. So I don't know that you're going to see at Crystal Brush anytime soon. I don't know that you're going to see any models that are just like, well, here's this kit that I bought and then, built it, or, put it together and then painted. I don't think you're going to see a lot of them winning. If you want to see the big winners, they're going to be a lot of big scratch build. So, yes, Rodolfo, you're right. It was the custom Space Marine. It was the Space Wolf. So, yeah. Big Dick Cheney says, how long before the Lehman Russ tank is renamed the Robot Gulaman? The Robot Gulaman. I don't know. It'd be kind of interesting if they made a new like slightly bigger Lehman Russ or a Grav Lehman Russ. That's what we need to. That's there you go.
Is that going to be the new thing?
And maybe everything's going Grav. 2017 is the year of Grav. That could be the case. I can see that. We can see that.
How dares the Imperium steer my hover tank?
Exactly. Yeah. The Imperium. They probably got the hover tank stuff from the Eldar, maybe the Tau, but probably the Eldar.
Necrons.
Or the Necrons. Yes.
Everybody else.
Oh, yeah,
Anybody. Oh, they got it from the Orcs, probably. Yeah. Merchant Price says, Merchant Prince says, is the Slayer sword actually sharp? I wouldn't want to be hit with it. I have not seen one in person, but my friend Tom won one. He was the last American Slayer sword winner in 2013, and I don't. Actually, someone did ask him that question. Now that I mentioned just recently, I think at Adepticon, and he said that it is not sharp. But still, again, wouldn't want to be hit with it. So, yeah. Adam, has anything been said about Forgeworld models getting updated stat books for 8th? From what I understand, yes, they're going to be doing that for all of them because Forgeworld models are going to become very, how am I putting this? Like, it used to be like if you go, well, okay, but no Forgeworld. Or tournaments are like, yeah, but no Forgeworld or whatever. But they're really trying to get Forgeworld kind of like they do with Age of Sigmar. Like, all Forgeworld Age of Sigmar stuff is just like, yep, bring it in. That's cool. Knock yourself out, and they're doing a lot of the same stuff. One of the reasons that it used to be a lot of no Forgeworld is because the rules for Forgeworld were generally, at least it seemed, no playtesting is more often than not what was going on. So they were frequently just crazy. And now not so much, I think. If they're trying to bring them all into the same kind of order in 8th, I think it's going to help things out there. Noisex says Nagash was, I'm going to butcher this name, Michal Pizarski from Poland. Yes, he was. It was a great looking model. It really, really was. Like I said, I saw it at Crystal Brush. I was not at Warhammer Fest, so I did not get to see it there. But it was good work on that. Johnny Rockstar says Grav bikes. That's there you go. That sounds like fun too. I think just Grav everything. That's what they should do. Just Grav
all the things.
Grav all the things, exactly. Grav Primaris, there you go.
They have jump packs.
Technically they do have the jump packs, yeah. I don't know, I've seen a meme going around and it took me a while. It was the get started, their start collecting Primaris box that somebody mocked up, and it was 3 of those jump Primaris, and they were jumping over a shark. And I'm like, why is there a shark in the box? And it took me a while. I'm like, they're jumping the shark.
Did you see it was Sergeant Fonzie?
Oh no, I did not see Sergeant Fonzie. That makes sense. Yeah, for those of you that. So jumping the shark is from an old TV show that most of you are probably not old enough, but look it up on Wikipedia. You'll be fine. So, but yeah. Oric Love God says, I too am a casual player. I refuse to support a game that is unkind to new players. I've also observed established players don't play new players. Yeah, you do see that sometimes. You see some people who, and we were talking about this a little bit recently, there are times when you see people at stores who are there because they're preparing for their next tournament. And a person who is brand new to the game is not somebody that they want to spend time on sometimes because they're like, well, I got to practice. If you were like a pro football player and you've got a big game coming up and you've got someone who wants to play catch, you could probably spend your time a little bit better. But you're probably getting paid a lot of money for that. Whereas the person who's going to a tournament and doesn't want to help new people out, in my mind, sometimes is like, okay, you're making the short-term win in that you're going to find somebody else to play, so maybe you can win this tournament, but maybe now this person's not as interested in the game anymore because you weren't able to kind of teach and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's one of the reasons I like doing expo things like this. It's one of the reasons I go to local conventions around where I can and do demos of the games that I like to do, like Song of Blades and Heroes and things like that. It works out nice. So, yeah, I think that one of the things I'd like to see more in stores is, and the store owners frequently don't have the time for it because they're running the store and all that kind of stuff, but if they can get people to do demos and to teach things, I'd like to see Games Workshop, frankly, for one, to do like a street team or whatever, a demo team kind of thing. They used to have something they were called Outriders years and years ago. I'm getting some yeses. Yeah, so Outrider team, whereas like now like Weird has got the Henchmen and there's a bunch of different, I know that there's the press gangers from War Machine, but that's kind of, I did a video about that a while back. I can't do the Pachows when I'm doing the live show, sadly, but you could go look that one up. So yeah, that kind of stuff is, I think it's a smart idea to do, and a lot of stores, the stores you see that are doing really well frequently have what they call product champions. So they've got someone who really likes that game and wants to have more players, so they just go, okay, well, I'll give you some store credit if you run a bunch of demos on Saturday or whatever, and that just, helps everybody, in my opinion. So, yeah.
Probably depends on the people who go to the store, too, because I know the Games Workshop down in Milwaukee, they're really friendly to the players. Like, I just started 2 years ago, and they're like, hey, come on in.
Yeah, and Games Workshop's been getting more friendly because of that. Well, partially, I think, because of the change in leadership. The old CEO he was probably nice to his family. Don't get me wrong, but he was not necessarily, in my opinion, doing great things for the company, and it showed. And now the new guy, Kevin Roundtree, we've all seen a very definite shift in the way things have been working for that company in the last 18 months to 2 years. It's really been amazing. So, yeah, definitely. Let's see here. Red Green says they had old Space Marine jet bikes. Yeah, and you can even get there's a Forgeworld jet bike for the Space Marines too, I think, too. And there's a couple of companies, the third-party companies that make cool like jet bikes for Marines that I've seen too. Yeah. Let me see here. Do you think that Primaris Marines are just part of GW's plan to scale up their models? I've heard some talk about that, and I could see that. I mean, if you look at a lot of the new releases for Age of Sigmar, a lot of them are a bit bigger. I'm not even just talking, well, obviously like the big guys, like Glotkin and stuff like that, but yeah, the Stormcaster are big sizes. The Stormcaster are nearly the size of like 40k Terminators to some degree. And then, and I've got the Primaris, and really these new Death Guard are beefier looking models. You put one of the regular Death Guard next to an old school, like, what do you call them, the Plague Marines. And yeah, they're not too bad as far as they're not crazy big, but they are definitely a bit bigger. So yeah, that may be a thing. I think.
Been going on forever, right?
Yeah, that's just scale creep to some degree. Definitely.
Scale, power creep, you name it.
I think, to be perfectly honest, at this point, I think I'm gonna give it about another 5 minutes because I'm getting all kinds of strange errors and things like that. So I apologize for the slightly shorter show, but at least we got the flicker to stop. So I just want to let people know that I'm going to probably do an hour instead of 2 hours this week just because the signal's been working really well. There's really good Wi-Fi here at the university, which is great. But maybe next year I got to maybe bring my PC from home or something to make these things work a little bit better. But I just wanted to let people know about that. Let's see here. Michelle from Telenorn? Hi, I'm from the UK. I know it's not 40k, which is totally fine, don't get me wrong. But are you guys playing Antares in the States? So that is Beyond the Gates of Antares. Beyond the Gates of Antares, for people who don't know, is from Warlord Games. It's the same company that makes Bolt Action and Conflict 47. And it uses roughly the same system, from what I understand. But it's kind of a high sci-fi sort of a thing. I know I saw a bunch of it at Adepticon. I know they had it at the Warlord booth. I don't know anybody around here who's playing it. Does anybody in the studio audience know anybody that plays the...
I like the models, but we don't play the game.
We got some model collection, but not game playing. So I'm not sure why. I mean, like, Bolt Action's very popular in the States, and Conflict 47 seems to be coming that direction. I like Conflict 47 because I like historicals fine, but I like laser historicals better. I don't know if that's a thing. I just made that up. And there's werewolves and there's all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm not sure about the Beyond the Gates of Antares. I've got I think
went away at Adepticon.
Yeah, there's a small starter book or the small rule book in the swag bag at Adepticon. So technically, many of us who are at Adepticon have a copy of the book. I just haven't sat down and read it though. So yeah, the models that I've seen have been cool. I know they just showed off some new vehicle that I thought looked really neat too. So, I don't know. Maybe it's one of those things that might just take a while to kind of pick up. But yeah, it's potentially the case. So Daniel Beam says, well, we got Magnus the Red. Now we've got Robot Gorilla Man. And soon we're getting Mortarion. Which Loyalist Primarch do you think is coming back next? I'm hearing a lot of the Lion from the studio audience. So that would be kind of interesting to see too. And again, those bigger figures that became a big thing in Age of Sigmar, and I think that you're going to see some of that too, probably in 40k. Just the fact now that vehicles and monstrous creatures and everything kind of all work off the same system. You don't have a Land Raider that takes 4 hull points of damage and then is done. It's got a ton of wounds, just like, say, maybe not as many as, say, Magnus the Red, but it's still got a bunch of wounds and all that kind of stuff. Oric Love God says Conflict 47 is pretty good. The dust models were a little better. Too bad they couldn't get their act together. We were talking about AT-43 yesterday with somebody here about how that was a great game. That was a great pre-paint. It was awesome, and the rules weren't even that bad, but they just something went south. It's really hard to make a business work with pre-painted models. People constantly talk about how Games Workshop should definitely go to pre-painted. It would be great. I'm like, that's not they sell paints. They don't want to do pre-painted models. It would be kind of silly. But it took a long time for Fantasy Flight to get their stuff together with X-Wing. Like, there was plenty of times when you're like, hey, I want to buy a Millennium Falcon, and they're like, yeah, we don't have any of those. Maybe next year, They've gotten their stuff figured out as far as that's concerned, but that's where it's at right now. So I don't know. I think that the reason that AT-43 had some issues is partially just because it's so hard to get, and it was good pre-paints. Like, you can do pre-paints successfully, like HeroClix. They just kind of look ugly. They're not great, but that's not what you're really interested in when you're playing that game. You're looking for painted models and superheroes and then the little clicky things on the base and all that stuff. So definitely, yeah. Let me see here. What else? We got any other quick last questions? Miranda Rose says that the lion would have to stop sulking in his room if he was going to be the last Primaris. All right, that's fine. Fair enough. I appreciate it there. And Alexander Guest says Tabletop Minions was filmed in front of a live studio audience, which I agree. I appreciate. So just sorry again, but I'm going to wrap her up just because technical difficulties and things like that. And I think that some of us here at TMX are probably going to go play some games, as it turns out. So I appreciate everybody watching, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks. The technological problems will be fixed, probably. I mean, I'll be home, and so we'll be working just as well as any other general week. And so, I hope to see you guys later on. And I'm going to try to turn off the thing now and see if that works. Oh, yeah.